So,
Now,
Joe,
can't you?
it's a pleasure
I
to see you and to have the opportunity to speak to you. Perhaps my first question will be very simple about one of the last live session you did. It was in Belgium. You are from Belgium, of course. It was a radio show. It was the 3rd of February. How was it?
It was very weird to actually play live in a radio because we never did that in the studio vibe before.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty cool experience. And it was also the first time we ever played our brand new song "In Deep is Black" live. So yeah, it was very cool experience.
You have the opportunity finally to play many shows. I see that you come back one of the first time you came back after the lockdown and everything. It was about October 2020. I see that you did a show in Belgium, the Sound of Noise Festival. After you have the opportunity to play some gig too. How was it finally to come back on stage with this show after so many months without nothing on stage?
Well, it kind of happened gradually because the first shows we played again were like live streams and a show for a seated crowd, so it was kind of weird in the beginning to play in this very different setup, because you're playing a show on a stage either without a crowd or with people who are sitting down. So that was very strange to experience that because our kind of music is all about energy,
Mhm.
and normally we feed from the crowd and they feed from us, and it's like one big ball of energy, and right now everything had to come from us, so it was a different kind of playing live because you really have to be inside yourself and more in your own zone than like be out there and then scream towards a crowd. So it was very weird. But the shows we played afterwards, like I remember last summer we played Alcatraz Metal Fest in Belgium,
Mhm.
and it was the first festival that actually was happening again after the whole lockdown and all this stuff. And the thing was, everybody was either tested who came there or had to have their vaccine. So as soon as you entered the festival, and it's a really big festival, everybody was taking off their mouth masks, and like there were no rules, no corona rules at all. So it
Mhm.
was a normal festival again. You could really feel like the people were so hungry for live shows again because every time we play in Belgium, we notice, I mean, compared to other countries and stuff, like I think in generally in Europe, people are very spoiled because there are so many shows happening, so many festivals, all this stuff. And now they took it away from them for like what, more than a year and almost 2 years, I guess. And it was crazy because everybody was so hungry for this music, and we started playing on the Sunday, the last day of the festival. Well, normally everybody on the last day is a bit like, whoa, I drank too much in the last 2 days, and here in this show on the Sunday, it was like the weather was great and everybody was like screaming and like crowd surfing, and the crowd had so much energy and was so hungry for our music. It was amazing to really feel that. It's like something that you would only feel when you go to play in South America or something, when the fans are really like, wow, fuck yeah, and losing their minds because they don't have so much shows to go to. So every time there's a show, they go crazy. And I felt that, but then with a really big crowd in Belgium, and that was a really cool experience.
It was it finally to come back after so many months without shows? Was it a little challenge? How do you feel finally? You never play for month and month and month. Was it something special for you as a musician?
Well, actually, I didn't really notice because the time went by so fast. It felt like we never stopped playing, kind of in a certain way. Like it was like the whole world was put on pause or something. I think it was kind of cool that we had this time off because we could spend all this time on the production of our new record and the songwriting and stuff. And you could definitely hear that the new songs are a whole step ahead of everything we did before. So I mean, it kind of came in a cool moment for us, because we've been touring so much and we needed to write a new album, and then suddenly everything's canceled and we're like, shit, okay, let's write a record, you know, because there's nothing else to do. And that was in a way like we made the best out of a shitty situation.
It was a how could you finally describe the band on stage? What do you want and what do you try to give to your publics when you are on stage?
When we play live, we just want to give a very energetic show. Like, we're running around on stage to get, I mean, the adrenaline needs to be pumping when we're playing, and not only for us but also for the crowd. You know, we really want to give the crowd a good time, and it's really a show that you go to let go of all the shit that has been happening to you in the last weeks, months, days, years, you know. Everything that's been piling up, you can scream it out during an Evil Invaders show. And I think that's a really good, it's like therapy, you know, for me as well.
Yes, it's a kind of liberation finally.
Sorry?
It's a kind of liberation. When you are on stage,
definitely.
You give everything. So finally you come back with this new album 5 years after the last one. It was a long period. How was the writing of this album? Do you take a long time to write the album, or do you write only in 1 year, or do you write on 5 years? How was the writing this time?
Actually, we are always like writing a bit of music all the time in between the tours and stuff, but we also have day jobs, so that's kind of hard sometimes to really get together and work on songs while you have a show every weekend. And you know, we try to make our live sets the best possible and the tightest possible, so we were mainly focused on performing instead of writing, but we were writing at home by ourselves. And actually, when the pandemic kicked in, we decided to throw together every demo we recorded by ourselves and see what we have, because we actually didn't know what the other guys were writing, you know. So we just exchanged all our demos, and then selected the best parts of certain songs, or take an entire song and rewrite it, or you know, like switch things around. And then we started working on new songs, like the demos, and creating actual good songs with them based on the demos, you know.
Finally, when you did all the writing process, do you write a lot of tracks and after you did a selection, or do you just write the tracks that we could find on the new album?
No, I think we had 20 tracks or something, and we just chose the best ones from those, because you know, we're very perfectionist and we don't want to release any fillers on a record. So maybe that's also why it took so long, because we put the bar pretty high for ourselves. So yeah, I'd rather release like one album every 5 years that's actually good than release one album every year that has 2 good songs on it, you know.
Uh, how do you know finally that a song will be on the album and not another song and some song you choose to get out the song of the album? How do you know that the song is good for the album?
There's a feeling when you play it. Like, for example, you just recorded it, you play it, and you go like, fuck yeah. Yeah, that's when it's gonna make it, probably, you know, when you're like, fuck, this is cool, and try to listen to it objectively, like you never heard it before. And then sometimes we're like, okay, these parts are really good, but this is the weak spot, so let's cut it out and try something else instead. Or the vocal line, you know, we always look for the weakest link in the song and then cut it out, and in the end you just have a song with only good parts, you know.
So finally, you have the opportunity to record also the album. It was in July last year, 2021. This time, how do you work in studio? Was it different compared to the last album, or do you work in the same vibe like the last album 5 years ago?
Actually, was the first time that we worked with a producer, but we used him for the pre-production of the record. So we had our demos first. Then we would sit together with Francesco Paoli from Flesh God Apocalypse as a producer. And we would work through Skype and make some changes to the songs, rewrite some parts. And then we had all the pre-production demos for the album. And then we went to the studio by ourselves, recording the drums. And then when the drums were recorded, we recorded our guitars and vocals at home.
So finally you work with Paulo for Francisco for the pre-production.
Yeah. For the pre-production, yeah. And then we always do the mixing with our sound engineer who does our live sound, Koen. And when he was done with the mix, we send it over to Fascination Street in Sweden, and they did the mastering.
What was it? Is there some songs? There are 10 songs on the album. The first one is In Crescendo. The last one, The Circle. Is there? Are there some songs who have been a challenge for you to record in the studio?
To record, not necessarily, but to actually write The Circle was definitely a bitch, because we had so many riffs in that song in the demo stage. There were actually more riffs than there are in right now, because it's a very progressive song. And we had to make some decisions to cut some parts out and replace them and repeat some other parts to actually have a song that makes sense, because it would be going like going and it would never stop. So that was I think we wrote like 20 versions of that song, so that was a very tough one.
Yes.
For the rest, I think Eternal Darkness would be the most technical one on drums. For Senna was a tough one to get the hits, because we have a lot of like weird tempos and weird beats in it. So yeah, that one definitely.
You tell me finally you choose to work with a producer this time, the first time. How was born? What pushed you finally to choose this opportunity to work with a producer this time?
It's basically something I always wanted to do, but I was always a bit afraid of working with somebody from outside of the band. So because we have a very clear view on what we want with our music and how we want it to sound, and giving something out of hand is always pretty sensitive for us. So basically our manager came up and said like, hey, if you want to work with a producer, Francesco from Flesh God Apocalypse is interested in working with you. So you want to do a Skype call? And then I just talked with him, and there was a good vibe going. We did a tryout on one song, because I literally told him like, I never did this before. I don't know what to expect. So could you please show me what you would do with a song like this? And then we gave him the demo of Die For Me. And then he made some changes here and there. And it was quite interesting, actually, because he had several suggestions. And then I was like, okay, this is cool to have an outsider's opinion on our song, and his interpretation. And we started making changes and working on it together, and it turned out really cool. So I was like, okay, let's do it for the rest of the songs as well and see where we go. And if it doesn't work out, then we still keep our demo version. If he comes up with great ideas, then let's work with that. And it was a very cool, chill cooperation with him, all through Skype, basically, because we couldn't meet face to face with all the lockdown bullshit. So yeah, I was quite surprised that it worked out so well.
On this album, one of the things how could I say in English? One of a huge things on this album is your voice, incredible voice. You're very high when you want and low when you want also. Did you do something special in studio? Do you work your voice before? Do you work a lot on your voice, or is it only natural?
Oh, this is definitely all natural. I mean, like the recordings and stuff, we didn't use any auto tune or any bullshit like that. But I've been working with a vocal coach for years, and I've been practicing a lot during the pandemic and stuff. And I always had very cool vocal lines in my head, but I could never really nail them in the studio like the way I wanted them to be. So I always chose to a different path in the past, you know, and I made it like an easier vocal line in the end that was a bit less melodic. But now there was no time pressure, and I was like, okay, I have the time and I can record my vocals right here in this room. So why not take the maximum out of it and just keep on practicing and practicing until I can reach those notes and hit them perfectly and with the right articulation, you know.
Mm.
So I definitely learned a lot while recording these vocal lines, and my singing improved immensely the last few years.
That means that for the next album, in the future, you perhaps will write some song, some new song with your new vocal capacity, with your new works on vocals.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I just feel right now that I can do whatever I want. I can hit basically any note I want right now, whether it's low or high. I find a way to do it in different vocal sounds as well. So I kind of feel unlimited in what I can do right now as a singer. So that's really cool compared to the past. You know, I always felt like I was a bit held back because my skills weren't at the level where they should have been to my standards, you know. And right now I feel like I'm at a point where I can say, okay, I can do this, you know, and I can just take my time and I'll make it happen, you know. And
So
that was definitely a lot of fun.
you have so two new single, two single from just now, two single from out from this album. There is Sledgehammer Justice and In Deeper Black, two very different songs, very
Yep.
very. It's really a different kind of metal. We can say that the style. How do you know that you want to give to the public before the album came these two songs?
Basically, I just wanted to contrast with everything we did before. And I think In Deepest Black is one of the very best songs on the record. So I was like, this needs to be the first thing we release. And people are gonna be talking about it because it's something entirely different than what we did before. And it shows a whole new side to the band. So it's not just, we don't want to write the same album over and over again. We played thrash, we play heavy metal, we play speed metal, but we combine all these things and create our own soup with it, you know. And releasing this song In Deepest Black as the first track, I knew there was going to be a lot of people that would actually love it, that normally didn't like our music in the past because it would be too aggressive, and the people that are already fans of us would also like it because it's just a good song, and because we like it, you know. And the thing is, I knew a lot of people would be like, oh shit, I hope they didn't change their entire style, you know. And then I just said like, okay, the second one is going to be Sledgehammer Justice because that's more in line of what we did in the past.
It was about the lyrics. What do you want to speak? What are the thematic of these two songs? What do you try to speak in these two songs about the lyrics? I suppose that you write also the lyrics.
Yeah, definitely. Sledgehammer Justice is basically a big ass fuck you against corrupt politicians and you know, like the people who are in charge that abuse their power, no matter in which situation. You know, it can be your boss at work, it can be a politician, it can be a teacher in school, you know, all those people that really make your life a living hell, you know. And it's basically a fight for freedom and a revolution against corruption and people that are just, you know, big egomaniacs, you know.
You are right in the actuality with this song.
Sorry?
Well, you are right. You are in the actuality with
Yeah.
this song, with
Yeah.
what happened in the world. You are straight.
Yeah. And In Deepest Black is basically a song that was written in a moment where you could, I mean, the lyrics are about feeling lost and abandoned in a way, or like the thing is, it's very openly written, so people can interpret it in their own way, but it's mainly about feeling lost and abandoned, feeling uninspired in life, and dwelling in the past for some reason, that you're kind of stuck in a vicious circle, and you can't get out of it, and you feel like, what am I gonna do next, you know? So the inability of moving forward in your life.
In general, there are, on all these songs, what are the subjects you want to speak? You speak in all these songs that we could find on this album?
It goes from one side to the other. It's really a lot of stuff, that a lot of different topics. There's not like a main concept in this record. I would say a song like Forgotten Memories, for example, deals with topics such as dementia, but also like realizing that the past is never coming back. And, you know, like you can have these memories when you're like, I used to go to my buddy next door, and we would party all week. And, you know, when you're young and at school, and these kind of days will never come back, because right now you're more grown up and you have responsibilities, you know. Things like that. Fighting against, you can't win the fight against time, you know. That's what this song is about. But also, like, as I said, dementia. Like, I watched my grandmother die with dementia, and it was a really ugly thing to see, that how people can kind of get stuck in a certain moment in their life, and not remember what their son or daughter looks like. And that's really fucked up to think. Like, imagine if you're that person and you're in your house and you're surrounded by strangers who say they are your family, but you don't recognize them. That's really fucked up, you know. Other topics, like Hissing in Crescendo, for example, deals with insomnia, and like, you know, when you stayed awake for so long and you can't sleep, you start kind of hallucinating and stuff. You're getting sick. That kind of things. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff, but I always try to keep my lyrics as open as possible for interpretation. So
Is there
these songs can mean something entirely different to someone else, you know.
Yeah, is there a song for you you feel more closer with perhaps something that touch you more, is more closer for you?
I think the most emotional songs for me would be Forgotten Memories and In Deepest Black, definitely.
It was, I see, I see. So you call this album Shattering Reflection. What do you mean about that? In French, we can say reflet fracassant. So,
Basically, we had the idea of the artwork first before we had the title. So we had the big ass mirror and our logo crashing through, and you see a lot of reflections in that. So Shattering Reflection is literally what you see. But it could also, reflection also refers to thinking, you know. So a shattering reflection could be something that you think of from the past, that like a traumatic experience or something like that. What else was I saying? I don't remember. Yeah, basically a traumatic experience, or something that scarred you in the past that you don't want to think of because it shattered your personality, the way you were, and changed you forever?
So when I discovered the band with this album, incredible album, pure heavy album, trash, like you say, speed, every different style. You begin since 40 years, around 40 years. What is your feeling finally about all the years you spend with this band?
Well, nothing but cool things happened to us in the past. I mean, it's been a long ride before we actually had like a really steady lineup, because I started this band 2007, I think, and with a completely different lineup, and people have been coming and going until 2014 or 15, I think, and now since then we have a steady lineup, but it's been a long road. And yeah, I'm definitely satisfied with the things we achieved so far, and I'm very excited to see where this new album is going to take us. So I really think for this new album, we kind of extended our horizon, and I think this music that we wrote right now is still going to appeal to our old fans, but also attract a lot of new fans, because I just think it's the songwriting just got better, and the performance as well, the production, everything just got taken to a whole new level, and I'm just very, very excited and curious how things are going to evolve in the future.
Is there some events, something who happened since all this year you are in the band from the beginning, of course, that you never forget? Was really something that very high point for the band, something that you think it's a good memories, and perhaps some laughing thing, I don't know, some anecdotes really crazy that you never forget too.
Yeah, there were some funny things happening, of course. Like once we were on tour with Destruction and Lost Society, and at a certain moment we were in the tour bus with all bands, and we were driving from Belgium to the border where we would go to the UK, so we needed to take the ferry. And there was like this moment where everybody just had bought weed in the car, and they were just like smoking it, and then suddenly they realized that, like, shit, we're gonna cross the border, we need to fucking get rid of the weed. So I started rolling for everybody and throwing it to them, and they were all smoking. We started eating it and try. We couldn't finish it, so in the end we had to like throw it outside of the fucking window. And then when we arrived at the ferry, we were all like looking like this, like it was hilarious. Um, and then for the rest, yeah, with going to South America was incredibly crazy as well. Just the way the people are there, it's like you're in a Quentin Tarantino movie. It's very, very intense. Yeah. Also the fact that we played our show at Trix in 2018, I think, where we did the DVD show for Surge of Insanity. That was like crazy as well. But to actually play a venue as a headliner with the full show that we can do on a big stage, and then like see how many people actually showed up, that was just for us, that was crazy. It was a great experience as well. Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff happened, but I can't. It's always hard to get it on my mind. Probably right now when the interview is over, I'm like, this one and that one. I should make like a list and just put it here.
Everything stays in the family finally, in the band. Yes, I see that you play in Japan in February 2 years ago, just before the lockdown and everything. You did 2 shows in Osaka. How was it for your first time in Japan, I suppose? How was this experience?
It was actually the third time in Japan for us.
Third time, yeah.
Yeah.
So great.
The first time was actually the craziest, because we just had released our very first EP in 2013, and they already invited us there to be the co-headliner with Possessed. It was crazy. But last time was also pretty sick, because normally it was Sacred Reich and violins that were gonna play there, but they canceled like 1.5 weeks before that show because of the COVID situation that was breaking out everywhere. So we got a call from the guy who organized the festival and says like, guys, I need somebody to headline my festival because both my headliners are just canceled. And are you guys up for a show next week in Japan? We're like, what? Next week? So yeah, we just did it, and it was very last minute. But I think we decided like on Sunday, it was like, okay, let's go to Japan, and we flew on Wednesday. So it was a super last minute thing, and we had to headline 2 nights in a row. It was really cool.
So you are a singer, guitarist. What is finally a good guitarist for you?
Good guitarist is somebody who tells a story with his instrument, I think. Somebody who can give you goosebumps. You know, like when I listen to a guy like Chris Oliva from Sabotage, he can play fast, but he can also play one note very well, and you just all the hair on your body just goes straight. You know, it's fucking cool. And that's, I think, a good guitarist is somebody who can touch you with his playing, whether it's rhythms or lead guitars. It doesn't matter, as long as you translate an emotion into your instrument through the music.
Do you remember the first album you listened, I suppose when you are a kid, like everybody, that give you the passion of this kind of music, of the metal music?
It was actually a tape that I got from somebody in my older brother's classroom, because I was interested in the music they were listening to, and I didn't really know what it was. I heard some guitar riffs on like a video game that my brother was playing, and I was like, hey, what's that? That sounds cool. And he's like, oh, guys in my class listen to that stuff. I'll bring you a tape. So he just brought me a tape that said like nothing on it, and it was just I played it, and it was just melodic death metal, and I didn't know what it was. You know, I just heard like, what the fuck is this? You know, like these ripping guitars and like really cool shit. And I listened to that tape for 2 years. I was like 7 years old, and I was blown away. And it took me actually almost 12 years to figure out which band it was, and it was Unanimated, Ancient God of Evil album. Norwegian melodic death metal.
And what is the guitarist who give you the envy to finally play guitar?
Angus Young, I guess.
Angus Young. Yeah. AC/DC is a huge influence for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you don't really hear it in our music because we do something completely different, but the way he plays his instrument, the way he plays the crowd, the energy on stage, and especially the years with Bon Scott, just the lyrics are so well written and so well brought, you know, and like the way he sings, he's like a narrator at the same time, but he's always pitch perfect as well, you know. It's almost like he's playing a character, you know, but it's just him. That's really cool. I think the way he visualizes everything he tells in his lyrics, that's really cool.
So just to finish about this new album, who is very important, I suppose, for the band. 5 years after you came back with this new album, if you meet somebody that you don't know, he don't know you too, and you get this album, what will you say to him to listen this album?
You mean which song they should check out, or
what will you say to this guy? To how did you say that in English? That finally he will buy this album. What is important for you to on this album?
Well, it also depends on who you're talking to. You know, if you're talking to somebody who doesn't like rock and roll at all, then you say different things than somebody who's listening to death metal. You know, if somebody, I think if it's a standard metalhead in front of me, I would say like check it out, because there's like so many different flavors on this record, and it goes from thrash to hard rock in a way, and still it sounds like one album, one band, you know, and you hardly hear that, I think, in metal these days. So much variation on one record.
What will be the next single?
The next single is gonna be Die For Me.
Die For Me is the second song of the album. You will did also captation, video captation or something like that for this
Yeah,
one?
definitely. We did like 3 video clips in 4 days in one location. So
yes, I see that.
It was very intense.
Yeah.
And very cold as well. Fucking hell, dude. It was like, it was freezing, and that's why actually it kind of turned out really cool on the image that you see our breath all the time, but it was so fucking cold, man. We were there in our t-shirt and it's freezing. It was heavy, but we had a lot of fun doing it.
I see sometimes you get some fire.
Yeah. That was welcome at that moment. Actually, when we recorded that video, we weren't allowed to use fire in the place. and we were like, it was the last day, so we just had to do that scene, and we're like, you know what, fuck it, let's just do it. And just when we finished filming, there were like, the cops were coming to say like, hey guys, is this place on fire or what? They had like phone calls from the people like outside on the street. They thought the factory was on fire. Perfect timing.
Yes.
We just needed that shot, man. It was too good not to do it.
Yes.
No regrets.
We could see that, not the cops, but you could see that in the video. So thank you very much for the interview. It was really a nice pleasure to speak to you and to discover you. I hope to see you one day in France. Do you have some prevision in France? Something?
Nothing confirmed yet, but I hope I mean, like, our booker is working on a new tour, so I hope he's gonna do some dates in France, because I had a shitload of interviews in the last few weeks, all French. I was like, damn, we have a fan base there. We need to go there fast, you know.
Do you have the opportunity to play in France before?
Yeah. We did Motocultor Festival. We did some shows when we were passing through on tours. You know, we played Paris, we played Bordeaux, we played a lot of places. Lille. Yeah, we did a lot of things, but I'm very bad at remembering all those streets and dates and stuff, you know. But we've been playing in France ever since 2010, I think, or 12. I think that was our first show in France, was 2012 or something.
So welcome in France for the future. Hope to see you in Paris.
Yeah, all right. You're from Paris?
Well, yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we played Le Petit Bain or something.
Yes,
like
the boat. Yes. I know the place. Yes, great, nice place.
Yeah, very cool. We played there like with Suicidal Angels once, with Skullfist, and with Mantar, I think. So yeah.
You're like a Parisian now.
Almost. Actually, our guitar player Max lived in Paris for a while when he was still playing in his previous band called Vault Rage.
Oh yeah.
No, it wasn't very long, but yeah, definitely looking forward to come back to France.
Okay, so thank you, and thank you for your answer, and hope to see you very soon.
I hope so too, man. Thank you very much for the interview, and see you on the road.
Yes, have a nice time. Bye bye.
Yeah. Cheers.